And welcome everyone to an NABC offseason chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Brooks Miller, head coach of Trine, coming off that national championship over Hampton-Sydney, D3 title. I will tell you, Brooks, first off, that nationally, I feel like sort of Trine came not out of nowhere, but I mean, it wasn't as sort of flowing off the tongue. And you've built this program, a national championship program. Where do you feel like you guys have come from point A to being a title team?
Well, I think this year we did a significantly more effective job in recruiting. We realized we were 22-4 the year before. We felt like we should have had an opportunity to get in the NCAA tournament. We missed out. The year before that, in 2021, we were ranked number 2 in the country when they decided to cancel the Division III tournament. The NCAA did. So we were number 2. Randolph-Macon was number 1. We got together. I called Coach Merkel. I said, hey, why don't we do this like a football game or like a football year, and let's have a bowl game for a bowl championship? And he says, great, I'm all for it. I said, well, when can you come to Trine and play? He goes, no, you're going to have to come here. I said, no problem, we're there. So we hopped out a bus and went down there, and we ended up coming up short in that game. So we've been really close. I think we've been knocking on the door. But in Division III, when there's 424 teams and only 20 at-large berths, you really got to have the right type of victories. And this year I felt we did that with our schedule, but we had the right type of people in place too. An incredible staff. And then having Cortez Garland and Fred Garland come here, they were our leading scorers, but more so they were playmakers for the rest of the group that took a team that was 22-4 the year before and able to cap it with a national title this year. Was absolutely an incredible experience.
All right, so I'm going to show a little bit of East Coast bias here because I grew up in New England where there are D3 schools. You can't walk 50 feet without running into one. I mean, they're just D3 everywhere, up and down, the Northeast corridor. I have to admit, I didn't know the strength of the D3 in the Midwest. I do now. I mean, obviously I went to Wisconsin, work a lot in the Midwest, but so more as an older adult, I have figured it out. Tell me about, you think, the power that is in that D3 sort of Indiana, Great Lakes region.
Yeah, it's an incredible challenge each and every year. Hope and Calvin have been, in our conference alone, have been real traditional powers. Calvin got beat in the Elite Eight. At Trinity on the road. They beat Randolph-Macon in the Sweet 16. Their best player got hurt towards ACL with 10 minutes to go against Trinity. Otherwise, it would have been us and them in the semis versus 2 ODAC teams with Hampton-Sydney and Guilford. So that would have been an interesting matchup, but Trinity was a great opponent. But in Region 7, Mount Union and the OAC, the Ohio Athletic Conference, has always been strong. They were in a national championship game a couple years ago. Marietta was in a national championship game from that same conference, teams that we've routinely played. So up and down our region, whether it's the OAC, the North Coast Athletic Conference in Ohio, those are really strong. Our Michigan Conference, it's really a great place to really see what kind of team you have. If you can finish in the top 2 or 3 in your region, you got a chance to compete for a national title.
All right, so tell me about the challenges that you're facing. We know what's happening at the D1 level with the portal, with NIL, with alignment, pay for play, everything that's happening. That gets all the headlines. What's happening to a championship level program at the D3 level in terms of trying to maintain that status and the roster management?
Well, we've been really fortunate because I think at D3 is really the last place where you can build a program. Most of our kids come here when they're freshmen. They're not quite as physically mature. It really has nothing to do with skill. We trade sometimes skill for size and athleticism, which I think is always the biggest difference as you move up. I was a graduate assistant, fortunate enough to be a GA for Coach Knight at Texas Tech his last year there, and I played Division II basketball and was at South Plains Junior College and won 3 national titles there. So I think at our level you can really build a program. Financial aid has always been an issue in D3. A lot of people do it different ways. I'm still close with Coach Beard. He was there at our national championship game. He flew up, and he's been a real mentor of mine, and I've always given him a hard time. I said, man, you guys got to start talking to these D3 guys. They said, we've been dealing with financial aid issues forever. We've been fortunate at Trine. We've only had 1 rotation player transfer in 6 years. Now, we've taken advantage of the portal a lot in our situation. Cortez Garland, who was the most outstanding player of the D3 tournament, was a graduate transfer for us here at Trine. So we've really tried to take advantage of that. I think when it comes to the NIL in Division III, we've tried to take advantage of that as well. But really, our NIL is to help guys pay for food or help guys pay for their rent. People that are more willing to. Our best player on that team, I was telling you, that was 17-1 and ranked number 2 in the country. He'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go work from 7 to 11 at McDonald's supposed to go to class from 11 to 2 and then come to practice from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. So there's a lot of people out there that want to help those guys and utilize and try to create that experience to represent the school in a positive way, especially during the season. So we're looking into all those opportunities, but it's just a great place to build a program. And we've been able to do that here. And it's something we're really proud of, is the consistency we've had.
All right. So the announcement on Thursday from the NCAA that in 2026, D1, D2, D3 championships will all be in Indianapolis. They've tried to do this before. They did it once before and did it. We're going to do it in 2020 in Atlanta, but then of course COVID happened. It has to be the right city. You got to have enough venues. What are your thoughts on having sort of just this great basketball weekend, and it also will include actually the D1 NIT, of having the championships all in one spot?
Well, I think it's just tremendous, because one thing I love about being a basketball coach and still being in college basketball at the age of 43 is the fraternity of coaching and the fraternity of players. Once you move along, whether it's in the career, in basketball or outside of basketball, everybody knows the challenges, whether you played at Michigan State or you played at Trine, what it's like to play for 4 years and to get that degree, and especially when you compete for a championship. And I think we all have a respect for each other of how hard each of us work. So to be able to celebrate and have the culmination of the championship games all in one spot, I just think it's a tremendous opportunity for everybody. And it's a great way to showcase how many great small college basketball players there are.
All right. So before I let you go, how do you defend your title?
Well, I think we still just got to continue, like everything else. We got to continue to focus on those intangible gifts that all of us have that make teams great. Our leading scorer this year only took 12 shots a game. So the level of unselfishness it takes, the amount of enthusiasm each and every day, and the ability to communicate with each other, our strengths, our weaknesses, and to execute those together and to lift each other up. I think that's what you got to continue to do, whether it's our program or if it's Coach Hurley at UConn. I think that's really what separates the great teams from the good teams and the ones that really keep you standing at the end.
Well, congratulations again on that national championship. And I know you're going to be in the thick of the race again this season. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.